When Melania Trump heard what Hunter Biden had just said about her, she didn't roll her eyes and move on. She didn't post a vague statement online. She went straight for the nuclear option, threatening to take him to court for a staggering $1 billion. Why? Because Hunter Biden had dropped a claim that connected her husband, and one of the most infamous names of the century, Jeffrey Epstein. A claim she calls a complete fabrication. But the real twist? That single sentence has now exploded into a political, personal, and legal storm involving two of America's most powerful families. And if you think you know how this started, you don't. It all began during an unfiltered, wide-ranging interview Hunter Biden gave to filmmaker Andrew Callahan. The conversation touched on politics, power, and scandals, but then Hunter dropped the line that set off a firestorm with a calm, almost casual tone. He claimed that Jeffrey Epstein was the one who introduced Melania to Donald Trump. Not just a passing comment either. He described the connection as so wide and deep, hinting at layers of history most people had never heard before. The weight of that statement was immediate. Epstein's name is radioactive, linked to a world of controversy, secrecy, and criminal investigations. And to suggest that the former First Lady's marriage began through that man's introduction, that wasn't just gossip. It was an accusation that blurred the lines between rumor and reputation, and it was bound to explode. But this wasn't just another viral soundbite. For Melania Trump, it was a direct attack on her name, her image, and her history. And within days, her lawyers were on the move. Melania Trump's answer to Hunter Biden's claim was swift, calculated, and loaded with firepower. Within days, her attorneys had drafted a formal letter, not just denying the statement, but tearing it apart word by word. The language was razor. They called Hunter's words false, disparaging, defamatory, and inflammatory. They accused him of intentionally dragging her into one of the most notorious scandals of the century, knowing full well the kind of damage it could do. And then came the number that grabbed every headline: over $1 billion in damages. That's the figure her legal team said they were prepared to pursue if Hunter didn't immediately take back his claim and issue a public apology. The letter didn't stop at legal threats. It painted Hunter as someone with a vast history of trading on the names of others to pull attention toward himself. To Melania's team, this wasn't an offhand remark. It was a calculated strike. But the real question hanging in the air was this: where did Hunter even get this claim from? The answer would take the story into even murkier territory. Hunter Biden didn't pluck his claim out of thin air. Buried beneath the headlines was a trail that led to one of Donald Trump's most persistent critics. Journalist Michael Wolff, known for his explosive political books, had reportedly told the Daily Beast that Melania was familiar with Jeffrey Epstein before she met Donald Trump. In his telling, that connection raised questions about how the couple first crossed paths. When the Daily Beast published the story, it was presented as a sharp, attention-grabbing piece, but it didn't last long. Melania's lawyers pounced, firing off a legal letter that challenged not just the details, but the very framing of the story. The result? The article vanished. The Daily Beast issued a retraction and even apologized for any confusion or misunderstanding. For Melania, it was proof the claim was baseless. For her critics, it became another twist in a story already full of shadows. But while the article disappeared, the idea didn't. Once Hunter Biden repeated it on camera, it was out in the open. And this time, it wasn't going away quietly. And to truly understand why this struck such a nerve, you have to go back to the official version of how Melania and Donald Trump first met. Long before the lawsuits, the political spotlight, and the swirling rumors, the story of Donald and Melania Trump's first meeting was simple, at least. According to them, in a 2016 Harper's Bazaar profile, Melania described the night in November 1998, when she first crossed paths with the man who would become her husband. The setting was a party in New York, hosted by the founder of a modeling agency. Trump was there, but not alone. Melania said she refused to give him her phone number because he was with another woman. Instead, she asked for his number, a small act of control in a night that could have been just another networking event. At the time, Trump had recently separated from his second wife, Marla Maples, and would finalize that divorce the following year. His first marriage to Ivana Trump had ended in 1990 after a highly publicized split. It was a chance encounter in the city's glittering social scene, at least. That's the official version. But once Epstein's name entered the conversation, that tidy origin story began to look very different to some. And to understand why, you have to look at Trump's own history with Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump's name and Jeffrey Epstein's name have appeared in the same sentence for decades, and not always comfortably. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, the two were known to move in similar social circles. Both wealthy, both fixtures, In Palm Beach and New York, both surrounded by models, celebrities, and power brokers, photos of them together still float around online. Snapshots from a time when their friendship seemed unremarkable, but Trump claims the relationship soured. In the early 2000s, and for a surprisingly petty reason, according to him, Epstein tried to recruit staff from the spa at Trump's Florida golf club. That was the breaking point, and from then on, Trump says he had nothing to do with him still. The connection was enough to fuel endless speculation. When Epstein was arrested in 2019 on charges related to trafficking minors, and when Epstein died in prison that same year, officially ruled a suicide, the conspiracy theories only multiplied. In the years since, public pressure has mounted for the release of the so-called Epstein files, documents that could shed light on who he knew and what they knew about him. The FBI insists no incriminating client list exists, but in the world of politics and scandal, denials rarely kill curiosity, and that's exactly why Hunter Biden's claim landed like a grenade, because it merged two already explosive narratives into one. From Melania Trump's perspective, Hunter Biden's comment wasn't some careless slip. Her legal team painted it as part of a larger pattern. One, they say Hunter has followed for years. In their letter, they accused him of having a vast history of trading on the names of others to gain attention, boost his profile, or stir controversy. In their telling, the Epstein claim wasn't about truth. It was about headlines. To Melania's side, this wasn't an innocent mistake. They argue that Hunter knew exactly how incendiary linking her to Epstein would be, especially in the political climate of 2025, with tensions between the Trump and Biden families running hotter than ever, and the damages they claim weren't just theoretical. Her lawyers said the comment caused overwhelming financial and reputational harm. In their view, every time Hunter's words were repeated online, in headlines or on social media, the damage multiplied. It was more than just defending her name, it was about setting a precedent. In the Trump camp's eyes, letting something like this slide would only open the door to even bigger, bolder accusations down the road. But as fierce as Melania's legal response was, the story doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's tied to a much bigger backdrop, one where family rivalries, politics, and public perception all collide. This clash between Melania and Trump and Hunter Biden isn't just about a single comment. It's about two of America's most famous families locked in a Cold War that never really ends. The Bidens and the Trumps have spent years taking shots at each other, both directly and through the media. Every statement, every interview, every slip of the tongue becomes fuel for the other side's fire. And, in an election cycle, even the smallest controversy can be turned into a political weapon. Hunter Biden is already a lightning rod. His business dealings, personal life, and public appearances have been dissected in ways few could survive. For the Trump camp, that history makes him an easy target to paint as reckless and unreliable. On the other side, the Bidens have accused Donald Trump and his allies of spreading misinformation and attacking their family as a political strategy. From their perspective, this lawsuit threat is just another move in a long-running game of political chess. But there's another layer: the timing. Melania's legal action comes amid renewed public pressure to release the so-called Epstein files, a collection of documents that conspiracy theorists and political commentators believe could name powerful figures connected to the disgraced financier. It's a perfect storm: scandal, politics, and the shadow of Epstein all colliding in the middle of an already toxic rivalry. And that brings us to the final question: where does this story go from here? Right now, Hunter Biden hasn't issued the retraction Melania Trump is demanding. The billion-dollar lawsuit remains a looming threat, hanging over their very public feud like a storm cloud waiting to break. There's no hard evidence linking Melania's introduction to Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. The official story says they met in 1998 at a Manhattan party. No scandal, no conspiracy. But the moment Epstein's name gets attached, the conversation changes. For Melania, this fight is about protecting her image and shutting down rumors before they spiral. For Hunter, whether intentional or not, it's a reminder that his words can ignite headlines in seconds, and for the public, it's another chapter in the never-ending saga of Trump versus Biden, where personal lives, political strategy, and scandal often blur into the same story. But here's the part that keeps people watching. If those long-rumored Epstein documents ever see the light of day, they could send shockwaves through politics, celebrity circles, and the media. Would they clear the air, or confirm everyone's worst suspicions? For now, it's all speculation. But in a political climate this volatile, one leaked file, one court ruling, or one unguarded comment could flip the story overnight. And if that happens, the fight between Melania Trump and Hunter Biden might just be the beginning.